Have you ever poured out your heart in prayer, desperately seeking an answer, only to feel like your prayers just bounced off the ceiling? You're not alone. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's both sensitive and crucial. Why your prayers don't seem to have answers. Grab your favorite drink, find a comfy spot, and let's unpack this mystery together, using wisdom straight from the Bible. The heart check. Sometimes prayers go unanswered because of what's going on inside our own hearts. James 4:3 says, "When you ask, you do not receive, because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your pleasures." Ouch! That's pretty direct, isn't it? But think about it. God isn't a vending machine. He's a loving Father who cares deeply about our character, intentions, and motivations. Imagine you're asking God for a fancy new car, not necessarily because you need it, but to impress people around you. God sees beyond our surface desires. He might be saying, "Hold on a minute. Let's deal with your pride first." Maybe it's time to reflect on your own requests. Are they aligned with God's values? Are they meant to uplift others and glorify Him? This heart check isn't always comfortable, but it's essential. God's timing, not ours. Another big reason prayers might seem unanswered is timing. Ecclesiastes 3:1 beautifully reminds us there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Just because it feels urgent to us doesn't mean it's the right time in God's greater plan. Take Abraham and Sarah, for example. They prayed and waited decades for a child. God's timing was way beyond what they imagined, but it was perfect, fulfilling a greater purpose. Joseph waited years in prison before his dreams came true. Moses wandered in the desert for decades before fulfilling his calling. Maybe your unanswered prayer is simply God saying, "Not yet." The greater good. Sometimes unanswered prayers are actually God's mercy at work. Remember 2 Corinthians 12:7-9? Paul asked God repeatedly to remove a thorn in his flesh, a painful struggle, and God said no. Instead, God told Paul, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Maybe the thing you're praying to escape is the very thing God is using to shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more reliant on Him. That's tough, but deeply profound. Think of times when you've grown most spiritually. They often come through trials, not comfort. Perhaps God is answering your deeper prayer for growth, even if it feels painful right now, aligning with God's will. 1 John 5:14 says something powerful. This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to His will, He hears us. Sometimes our prayers aren't aligned with His bigger plan. Picture this. You're begging God for a door to open while He's gently trying to redirect you to another path, one better than you imagined. God is not ignoring you. He's guiding you. Spend time in His Word and prayer to understand His heart. The more you align your desires with His, the clearer His answers become. Unseen spiritual battles. Here's a fascinating angle: spiritual warfare. In Daniel 10:12-13, Daniel prayed, and an angel revealed that his prayer was immediately heard, but spiritual forces delayed the answer. Sometimes there is a spiritual dimension to unanswered prayers we don't see. We live in a world filled with spiritual dynamics, realities we can't always perceive. Our persistent prayer becomes a powerful weapon in these unseen battles. Don't underestimate the spiritual impact your prayers are making, even if results aren't immediately visible. Encouragement to persist. Finally, Jesus himself encourages persistence in prayer. In Luke 18:1-8, Jesus shares a parable of a persistent widow to teach that we should always pray and not give up. Persistence refines us, builds faith, and deepens our relationship with God. Jesus also said in Matthew 7:7-8, "Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened to you." Each of these actions, asking, seeking, knocking, requires continuous, determined effort. It's a call to persistent, passionate prayer, learning to trust. Sometimes, the greatest lesson from unanswered prayers is learning to trust God's sovereignty. Proverbs 3:5-6 encourages us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Faith and doubt. Another perspective is our own faith versus doubt. James 1:6-7 explains, "But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, blown and tossed by the wind." Faith isn't about having zero doubt, but choosing to trust God despite doubts. It's a daily choice, strengthened by knowing his promises and remembering past faithfulness. The role of forgiveness. Jesus emphasized forgiveness as crucial to prayer effectiveness. Mark 11:25 states, "And when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you your sins." Holding on to bitterness or resentment can hinder our prayers and disconnect us from God's presence. Forgiving others is liberating. It opens our hearts and clears the spiritual pathway for powerful and effective prayer. Listening, not just talking. Prayer is communication with God, not just talking, but also listening. Psalm 46:10 says, "Be still and know that I am God." Sometimes we don't hear answers because we haven't paused to listen. God's voice often comes in quiet whispers or gentle nudges. If we constantly fill our prayers with noise, we might miss his guidance. Make space for silence, reflection, and meditation. In that quietness, you might find answers clearer than ever. God's silence isn't absence. God's silence doesn't mean absence. Isaiah 41:10 reassures us, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God." Even in silence, he is present, working behind the scenes. Think of God's silence like the quiet before sunrise. The darkest moment might just be right before the brightest breakthrough. Silence can be his way of preparing your heart for something incredible. Strengthening our relationship. Unanswered prayers can strengthen our relationship with God. Romans 5:3-4 explains, "We glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character. And character, hope." The journey of unanswered prayers often deepens our spiritual maturity. When God delays or denies our requests, it pushes us to seek him more earnestly and intimately, cultivating a relationship built on trust rather than immediate results.